Good evening. Welcome to tonight's deep dive. Tonight we're diving into the surreal dynamic, a geopolitical puzzle that captivated the world stage for years. The relationship between Vladimir Putin and Donald Trump, a pairing that defied conventional wisdom and diplomatic norms. It was a relationship that left allies baffled, strategists scratching their heads, and international relations experts reaching for new textbooks. And of course, comedians overjoyed, because the material just wrote itself. On one side, Putin, the seasoned leader of Russia, ex-KGB master of power projection, a man who understands the nuances of global power and isn't afraid to wield it. A figure known for calculated moves and strategic depth. On the other, Trump, the real estate mogul turned reality TV star turned president of the United States. A man who once stared directly into a solar eclipse, seemingly unfazed by the potential consequences. This isn't a contest of equals, it's a clash of ideologies, of leadership styles, and perhaps even of realities. It's a chess grandmaster versus a pigeon, an analogy that might seem harsh but captures the essence of the imbalance. A pigeon who thinks knocking over the pieces means victory, oblivious to the strategic implications and long-term consequences. Putin is a ruthless autocrat, a leader who has consolidated power and suppressed opposition with an iron fist, silencing dissent and expanding his reach with chilling efficiency, both domestically and on the global stage. Trump, meanwhile, seemed more interested, at least at times, in TV ratings and Twitter feuds, often prioritizing personal grievances over geopolitical strategy. Then global strategy, a disconnect that left many wondering who was truly steering the ship of state. The contrast is darkly hilarious but also revealing, a stark illustration of the different worlds these two leaders inhabit. One leader plays the long game, meticulously planning each move with an eye towards a distant strategic goal. The other can't resist the next headline, the immediate gratification of a news cycle victory. For 4 years, America's approach, its carefully constructed foreign policy apparatus, to its greatest adversary, a nation with a long history of geopolitical competition, was shaped by a man who admired the opponent, perhaps even envied his power and control. More than the job, more than the weight of responsibility that comes with leading the free world. This is not a pro-Putin segment, let's be absolutely clear about that. It's a pro-reality check, a sober assessment of the dynamics at play. Let's explore what happens when a nation's foreign policy, its carefully crafted strategies and alliances, is effectively run, or at least heavily influenced, by its rival's biggest fan, a situation ripe with potential for miscalculation and unintended consequences. To truly understand the immense gulf that separates these two figures, we must first look at their very different training, the paths they walked, the lessons they absorbed, and the environments that shaped their worldviews. Putin, forged in the crucible of the KGB, an organization synonymous with secrecy, power, and unwavering loyalty to the state. He is an expert in the dark arts of espionage and psychological leverage, skills honed over years of dedicated service. In his world, information isn't just data. It is a weapon, a tool to be wielded with precision and ruthlessness to achieve strategic objectives. Trust is seen as a liability, a weakness to be exploited, not a foundation for genuine connection. And every single move, every interaction, is meticulously calculated, analyzed for potential gains and hidden risks. Now let's consider Trump's training. It was in the cutthroat world of New York real estate, a landscape of towering ambition and relentless competition. Here, bluster and branding matter far more than subtlety or nuanced understanding. Image is everything, and perception is reality. His primary form of leverage is often simply yelling louder, dominating the room with sheer force of personality. He often operates without a deep understanding of underlying vulnerabilities, relying instead on instinct and bravado. Putin approaches every situation like a chess grandmaster, while Trump often seems to be playing a game of reality TV, where entertainment value trumps strategic depth. Putin prefers to manipulate events from the shadows, orchestrating disinformation campaigns, launching cyber attacks, and carefully cultivating alliances to advance his agenda. Trump, on the other hand, often treats international treaties and agreements like bad business deals, seemingly thinking he can simply rip them up and walk away without consequence. The result of these contrasting approaches? A profound mismatch. Putin, the seasoned master manipulator, a strategic mastermind with decades of experience, stands in stark contrast to Trump, the instinctive self-promoter, a showman accustomed to the spotlight. In every encounter, Putin's extensive experience in the intricate art of statecraft consistently outclassed Trump's reliance on mere showmanship and bombastic rhetoric. From the very beginning, it was never a fair fight, a level playing field, or an even competition. And so, America was left reeling in the ring, strategically outmaneuvered and diplomatically outplayed. And the entire world watched with a mixture of fascination and concern, as the strongman armed with only a spork found himself thoroughly schooled by a master of the game. One of the strangest sights of the Trump era was his open admiration for Putin. Trump praised Putin's strength and leadership, even as he insulted America's closest allies. He seemed to envy Putin's unchecked authority, a style at odds with American democracy. This wasn't just flattery, it was validation of Putin's entire project. Putin, ever the strategist, saw Trump's need for praise and played to it perfectly. A little flattery, and Trump was putty in his hands. The result, a bizarre international bromance built on manipulation, not respect. Putin didn't just win Trump's admiration, he won the advantage. The 2018 Helsinki summit summed up the Trump-Putin dynamic in one jaw-dropping moment. Asked if he trusted US intelligence or Putin on Russian election interference, Trump sided with Putin. President Putin says it's not Russia. I don't see any reason why it would be. With the world watching, Trump threw US intelligence under the bus. The message Putin's word mattered more than America's own experts. The fallout was immediate. Bipartisan outrage, global disbelief. Even Trump's allies were horrified. Putin barely had to lift a finger. Trump did the work for him. Helsinki wasn't a summit, it was a surrender. It showed how easily a fragile ego could be manipulated by a ruthless adversary. America's credibility took a hit, and Putin left with a propaganda victory for the ages. For decades, NATO has been the backbone of Western security. Trump treated it like a bad business deal, complaining allies weren't paying their dues. He misunderstood NATO's purpose, framing it as a protection racket instead of a mutual defense pact. This rhetoric played right into Putin's hands. His goal has always been to weaken NATO. Every time Trump questioned the alliance, he did Putin's work for him. Allies grew uncertain, trust eroded, and talk of a Europe without America grew louder. Trump's transactional view of alliances weakened the West from within. The damage to trust was immense and hard to repair. Putin didn't need to divide NATO. Trump did it for him. America's own allies began to doubt its commitment, and the world's strongest alliance was left shaken. America's strength comes from its alliances built on shared values and trust. Trump saw these partnerships as burdens, treating allies with contempt and cozying up to autocrats. He picked fights with Canada, insulted Germany, and clashed with Australia while praising strongmen like Kim Jong-un and Erdogan. This wasn't just bad manners, it was a reversal of decades of US foreign policy. The message America was no longer a beacon for democracy, but a potential partner for autocracy. The cost? Deep alienation and distrust among allies. Putin, watching from Moscow, couldn't have been happier. A divided West and an isolated America was his dream scenario. Trump's approach wasn't a bug, it was a feature, and it served Russia's interests perfectly. The garden of alliances was bulldozed and the weeds of division took root. Every president inherits the world's best intelligence apparatus. Trump treated it as an annoyance, preferring his gut, and often Putin's word. He mocked and dismissed US intelligence, especially on Russian interference. Protecting his ego mattered more than protecting democracy. This demoralized professionals and signaled to allies and enemies that America was flying blind. If the president won't listen to his own experts, who will he trust? Too often, it was Putin. The result: chaos and distrust within the government. Putin, master of information warfare, watched as Trump undermined his own defenses. It was like taking advice from the opponent's coach. America's security was weakened from the inside. Let's talk about a word, a loaded word, a word that carries the weight of history and the potential for severe consequences. It's a word that's often thrown around in political discourse, sometimes casually, but its true meaning is far from trivial. Treason. It's a term that evokes images of betrayal, conspiracy, and the gravest breaches of trust. The Constitution, the very foundation of our nation, defines it specifically as aiding enemies, providing them comfort and support in times of conflict or hostility. This definition is precise and carries significant legal ramifications. But let's just ask some questions. Let's delve into some hypotheticals, explore some scenarios, and see where the inquiry leads us. This isn't about accusations, it's about understanding the complexities of actions and their potential implications. Is it aid and comfort to side with an adversary, a known antagonist, over your own intelligence agencies, the very institutions tasked with protecting the nation? Is it prudent to disregard their warnings and assessments in favor of narratives that align with the interests of a foreign power? To weaken alliances built to counter that adversary, alliances forged over decades to maintain global stability and deter aggression? Is it a responsible act to undermine the bonds that unite nations against common threats? Trump refused to condemn Russian interference in our elections, a direct assault on the democratic process. He often parroted Kremlin talking points, repeating narratives that originated from the very source of the interference. And he actively tried to weaken NATO, an organization designed to protect its members from Russian aggression. He held secret meetings with Putin, shrouded in secrecy and lacking transparency. He kept details from his own staff, excluding key advisors and raising concerns about the nature of the discussions. Was it malice, a deliberate intent to harm the nation, or just incompetence and ego? A combination of hubris and a lack of understanding of the complexities of geopolitics. Maybe he was simply out of his depth, overwhelmed by the responsibilities of the office and unable to grasp the nuances of international relations. The useful idiot theory suggests he wasn't a villain, not intentionally malevolent, just a fool expertly played, a pawn in a larger game orchestrated by a more cunning adversary. But intent aside, regardless of the motivation, the outcome was the same. America weakened, its standing diminished on the world stage, and Russia emboldened, its influence expanded. Putin achieved more through Trump's actions or inactions than he could have ever hoped to achieve through any military campaign or covert operation. When a president's actions consistently and demonstrably benefit an adversary, especially to the detriment of his own nation, the questions right themselves, demanding answers and careful consideration. So where does this leave us? Putin, the patient manipulator, Trump, the reality TV star out of his depth. Putin didn't outsmart America, just one man, and it was disturbingly easy. The legacy, a more dangerous world, a damaged reputation and tested institutions. Putin saw that chaos could be sown not with missiles but with memes, and a willing amplifier in the White House. Trump's bluster was weakness. Putin's quiet was strength. This isn't just a story about two men, it's a warning for all of us. When celebrity replaces leadership, democracy is at risk. The punchline. Trump was played, and we're all living with the consequences. Good night.